Are you someone who struggles with addiction? If so, you are very near and dear to my heart because I was one as well. Today, I want to give you the tools in order to help you beat whatever is holding you down in life. And I hope and pray that you make a full recovery and find peace and love in this life. Now, I'm not a therapist, but I am someone who walked through the struggles of overcoming my addictions. And so I want to share with you the notes that I have taken over the last 9 years so that hopefully you can be free as well. People like myself who struggle with addiction have had one or more traumatic events in their lives, whether it's SA or maybe you lost a father, had a bad father, or you had parents who severely hurt you or bullied you. Maybe it was kids that bullied you. I can't list every single thing that could go wrong in this world. There's something in your life that robbed you of your innocence, caused you a lot of pain, and set you on this course where now you are dependent on substances or people in order to cope with your pain. That's what addiction is. It's a dependence on coping mechanisms to address trauma. And I just want to say that I see you. I feel for you. I know that the trauma that you endured was not your fault. Please forgive yourself of that. At the same time, how you behave out of that trauma is your responsibility. You can blame your parents if you want. I have certainly had my fair share of issues. But if I commit a crime, they're not going to arrest my parents. They're going to arrest me. I will have to deal with the consequences. Likewise, the choices that you make, you will deal with the consequences. So how does addiction work? In my opinion, it's a vicious cycle. You feel bad, you cope with substances, you get shamed for it, you feel bad, you cope with substances, you get shamed for it. And this cycle goes over and over again until you've lost everything, your family, your friends, and even your life. So I just want to convey this accurately to you. If that's you, I have so much love and empathy for you, and I hope that this video helps you. So if it's the cycle that holds us into bondage, then the obvious answer is to break that cycle. What can we address? We can address what makes us feel bad. We feel bad because out of that trauma, we have adopted beliefs that are lies about ourselves, and it rules our thinking. Back in the early 2010s, there was a great movie released called Inception. It's famous for talking about having dreams within a dream. And I think it does a decent job addressing the layers of consciousness in our minds. Let me explain it to you quickly. In our world, when we fall asleep, we tap into our subconsciousness. These people are able to create a machine that allows you to fall asleep in that level of consciousness to go deeper. And I think maybe 3 layers down, they get to a base layer of consciousness, the innermost sanctum, where in there resides a safe. And that safe contains the core beliefs and ideas that people hold on to. And out of that safe, the symptoms of those beliefs manifest up in the layers of consciousness to reach the real world. What does this mean? That means that whatever core belief you hold that gives you purpose dictates how you think, speak, act, and feel. And that can drive our levels of depression, anxiety, and stress. An example of a core belief that you may have is that your life wasn't perfect, and therefore you are worthless. A lot of people hold on to that belief, even if they deny it to your face. But I see that through evidence of their self-loathing. They hate themselves and they compare their lives to other people who seem to have it better than them. And they cry that this world is unfair, and they lash out in anger due to their jealousy. You can see how that adds to a stressful life. Here's another common belief that I see here in this country. You are special, and only you can be special. You might see this in people who think that their skin color means anything, and that people of other skin colors can't have good things because it reduces your feeling of being special. And this manifests up to the surface level as entitlement, selfishness, envy of others, hatred, and can lead someone to gossip, spread rumors, slandering, and creating all different types of conflict. You can see how unproductive beliefs can contribute to the world's suffering. Now, the thing about traumatic events is that they open doors for negative entities like demons to whisper lies into your head so that they are attacking your core identity. If you are unaware that that's happening and you believe those lies, you've stored them in that safe, and that manifests into a lot of problematic behavioral patterns in this world. You might feel like you're not worthy of love, that nobody can love you or ever accept you, so you put on this mask and you overreact to every situation out there. That's an example of how demons whisper into your mind. Now, you don't have to accept it, and if you had, you can find that and metaphorically rip it up, because you don't have to buy that lie. But generally, that's why you feel so bad all the time. It's a spiritual problem that manifests as a mental and emotional problem that manifests in poor actions and choices. And then you start to consume substances or alcohol or even other people in order to manipulate your emotions so you can feel something. But this void inside you is never satisfied. In fact, the hunger only grows until you have lost everything in your life or you lose your life. I don't want that for you. When I say consuming other people, I mean that you are relying on them and using them to gratify your emotions, whether it's pursuing intimate relations with them or relying on the emotions that they bring out of you until you've had your fill of all the fun and joy that you can get from them, and then you discard them like an object. When you do that, you contribute to their suffering because you reduce their dignity and self-worth that God had given them in the first place. A great example in our world today is watching adult videos online. Sure, it was their choice to make money doing this. At the same time, it's a system of reducing dignity and worth of human beings into objects of consummation. People just consume their bodies visually. That's why lust is a sin. So that first step is breaking the cycle, addressing what makes you feel bad. The second step is properly processing your emotions and letting them out. We hold on to our unresolved issues in metaphorical boxes that we store away in our attic or storage space in our metaphorical house. What I'm saying is, if you don't allow yourself to feel and process these traumatic events in a healthy way, they will stick around you and follow you all the rest of your life. So you need to do some metaphorical spring cleaning. Here's how you can do that. Find a quiet, isolated place where it's just you, and if you're a Christian, just you and the Lord. Give yourself permission to feel emotions and express them however they come out, whether it's anger, whether you need a good cry, or if you just need to speak to that person who caused you a lot of pain and say what you really wanted to say. Please don't do this in public with a lot of people watching. Men especially are taught not to feel emotions. Unfortunately, that keeps us trapped in pain and unhealthy behaviors because we can never let those traumatic events go. So I'm not telling you to go to a restaurant and just start crying in the middle of service. I'm saying go find a quiet place where you can feel comfortable by yourself and allow yourself to feel, and then you can heal. After work every night, when I was by myself in my apartment for 4 months, I went back to every single time I was berated or hurt physically by a parent. I relived the events as a kid in my mind, and I allowed myself to grieve. Yeah, I admit that I cried. Sometimes I yelled. But as a kid, while I was being hurt, I couldn't properly release my emotions because I had no one else to run to. And I kept that stored in my mind until it became poison and rotted me from the inside out. And that manifested in a lot of anger and yelling at people who didn't deserve it. It's called projection. I was projecting my pain on other people because hurt people hurt people. Those 4 months, it's a lot of trauma to process through. If you hold it in you, it'll only fester and poison your mind. So let it go. Grab a journal or whatever you need, relive those emotions and feel what you felt and let it go. Hold on to it no more. Over time, you'll feel that you're walking lighter, like this heavy burden over you is gone. And that's when you know that it's working. But now that you're getting the pain out, it's still not going to turn your life around. Because emptying a safe of bad things is not the same as putting good things into that safe for storage. What I mean is, when I got the pain out, I was still numb to this world. And I didn't know what to live for. I had no purpose. And because I had been going to a 12-step program and praying to this higher power, I asked God a question. Are you real? Because if you're not real, then I don't want to exist anymore. And he responded. And when he responded, I realized that I had to put the good into my life in order for me to function. And so I chose to follow God. That's what I put into my mental safe. I committed to following Jesus Christ. And through church, they talked about identity. And they said that when you put your identity in Jesus, the world can't take that from you. You see, I had put my identity in work, and I was destroyed when I lost my jobs. I put my identity in my relationships with women, and I was destroyed when I went through breakups. But when I put my identity in Christ, he is the stable rock and foundation that I need and is the strength that I rely on. And when you put that in your innermost safe, it manifests up the layers into this world. And that's when I started to mentally change, emotionally change. I just had a conversation with my parents about it, reflecting on the past few years and how much I've grown and changed. And they're surprised and astonished. It's all through making God your core belief. And the only way you can have access to God, Yahweh, is through his son, Jesus Christ. Because Jesus took your sin on the cross so that you don't have to pay the penalty for it if you follow him. And he is resurrected to give you life, a new life, with new values drawn on the strength of God as your core. When I made God my purpose, That void that I was trying to fill in my life with substances, it was satisfied. And I realized that the reason why we feel that void in our heart that feeds into our depression and anxiety is because that's what Adam and Eve lost when they were banished from the Garden of Eden. God created mankind in his presence to be loved and love him, to worship him. And when we rebelled, we were banished from him. And this void in our heart now is a God-sized void that only God himself can fill. And when you connect with God again, it's like finding the missing jigsaw piece to the puzzle in your heart. And through that fulfillment, you now have no need to feel bad and hate yourself for it. You no longer now need to hold on to that trauma that's weighing you down and feeling bad that leads you to coping and having other people shame you. You've now broken the cycle because you're drawing on strength that is stable instead of weakness and things that don't last long. Allow me to demonstrate that through scripture. Matthew 7:24, this is Jesus finishing up the Sermon on the Mount. He says, "Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it." Let's go to Psalms 1. "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does he prospers. The wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the ways of the wicked will perish." The rules and statutes of God are meant to protect you, not to hurt you. And above all, God wants to restore you to a relationship with him, because we were created by him in his presence. When we rebelled, we lost it, but he came and suffered in our place and took our punishment on himself to save us. That is the gospel. For all who believe, they can be restored to Jesus if they faithfully commit to following him all their days. When you make Christ your foundation and you experience his love, it makes giving up sins easier, especially if you know that the sins you've practiced have not been productive for you. At the same time, you will still struggle with sin. I still do. I lived one way for 28 years, and I'm learning to live another way over the past 9. And it's an adjustment. So will everyone else. We will not achieve perfection in this world. But this world isn't perfect, and when you can accept that, it's liberating. When you accept that you have behavioral issues, it makes the problems easier to see, and problems that you can see are ones you can solve. God is not standing here waiting to punish you. He's standing here waiting for you to turn around to him and hug him and understand him. That is the invitation to following Jesus Christ. He's not going to strong-arm you. He's not going to force you, but he is inviting you. Will you respond? I hope that you do, because I want to see people who are struggling with addiction beat it and find love and light in their life. Can you do it without God? Sure, but it pales in comparison to God, and it's temporary. It'll fall flat on its face because it's not sustainable. Only God is the source of unlimited. Everything else can satisfy maybe for a short time, but it won't last. Therefore, if you're going to put a bet on your life in something, put it on something that will last forever. Allow me to close this video with a blessing for you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Beating addiction requires a great amount of strength. I hope and pray that you make God your core belief and rely on his strength to help you through this tough time. You are loved, you are cared for, and today is a good day to start something new. That's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next episode where I talk about the #1 reason why people choose not to believe in God.